Welcome to my voiceover world.
Hey there.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, old friend. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Good. I can hear you okay. We're in business.
Thanks for willing to do this, my friend.
Thanks for asking me back again. Since I was last with you, things have gotten fancy. Look at the background and
Yes,
very
this, my
nice.
friend, is my new and improved version of me right there.
It's excellent.
Yes.
I was looking at our last one and there wasn't a lot of light in it. We were both not well lit in our last one, so this is good
Yep.
it's all cool now. I'm sorry I don't have a fancy background today, but that's all right.
That's okay. It happens to everybody, you know? You're
It
not the
does.
only one, though. I've
It
been with a
does.
lot of people there, like Michael
Yeah.
Scott Action, who has the same background as you, as everybody else.
It's just a wall.
Of course. You know, it's been 4 years since we first seen each other right there. It has
Has it
been
really been that long?
yes, and also because of me going to the conventions and everything, I've been improving my way of talking to a lot of voice actors there and
Great.
developing new questions to make things a lot improving in a way.
I
Due
look
to my
forward to
autism
seeing.
spectrum, it just leads me
uh,
to making a lot of good choices.
I look forward to seeing what those choices are. It'll be fun. But
Of
I was very honored to be invited back. It was very nice of you. But I didn't realize it was 4 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, 2021 is what I remembered.
Wow. Huh.
Yep,
Amazing. Time sure flies when you're having fun.
of course. But you know, there are a lot of questions in my mind that I need to start remembering since it's been years. But to
Okay, let's
start
see.
things off, hmm, what do you love most about voice acting, about being in many different projects that you've been part of?
Well, I get to be 10 years old every day. I get to play. I get to keep in touch with the child in me. And I think the older we get, the better it is for us to hold on to that child as much as we can, as hard as we can. So that's the most fun for me is just being able to act to what I do for a living allows me to be 10 years old every day and play like I played when I was a kid. It's great.
Hmm, of course. That is something that everybody goes through, even myself as well. Which leads me to the most important question, but what what got you into voice acting and what was the best decision you made so far that has excelled into your career? For what purpose?
A very good question, Sebastian. I did not start out to be a voice actor. That was not what my goal was at all. I started out, excuse me, I started out in theater. And then when I decided to do it professionally, I decided to do commercials because this face was going to look better in commercials than anywhere else. I did not have a leading man face. So I figured commercials would work, and they did. Back in New York, I was there for 10 years working out of New York, living in Connecticut and working out of New York. And then I decided I wanted to do TV and film. And maybe in the summer months when the TV series I was on was not happening, I'd do Broadways. So I had this whole big plan, none of it having to do with voiceovers. So I came out here to LA, Los Angeles, where I am, and the commercials started working, and I started getting the TV and film work. But business is a very cyclical thing. It sometimes goes like that, and then it dips, and then it goes like that, and it dips. And so when one thing would drop out, like the commercials would drop out, the TV would pick up. But I felt like I needed something else. And a friend of mine, I was actually directing a play, and a friend of mine saw me interviewed for the play and got in touch with me. And he was a voiceover guy, he was doing anime. So he got me into anime. He introduced me to the Saban people back in the day. And that's how I started. I started doing that, and I started to really love it. And I even though I'd done some voiceovers when I was back east, but it just wasn't my emphasis. So once I realized I really loved it, I started trying to pursue it. And then it became one of the things. So it would be TV would dip, and then voiceovers would pick up, and then commercials would happen, and then that would dip, and voiceovers would. So there's always something going on to keep things consistent. And now this past decade has been mostly voice.
Interesting. So that's how you got into voice acting, because of all that
Yep.
experience that you've had back in New York. But you know something?
Yep.
There are two things I like to tell you, but number one, that story of yours, you know who that what you kind of make me think of?
But
You reminded me of someone that I met weeks ago by the name of Rig Saf, who's also went through that experience of
yeah,
him in New York and just,
I know Rick. I know Rick. He's a good guy.
yep, I interviewed him and he's gotten to know me very well, but you reminded me of him because of that experience that he had, and you went through that too. It's
Well,
like,
yeah, that's
boy,
amazing. It's a fun coincidence, and Rick is a great guy.
yes, indeed. And the second thing I like to ask was about that man who brought you into the entire project. What
Uh-huh.
was his name?
His name was Bob Klein or R. Martin Klein. If you
Oh,
look him up, you'll see he's done a lot of anime. He was leads in Flint the Time Detective and Bit the Cupid and Digimon and El Hazard and all these amazing.
oh, wait a second. Is he is he from Digimon and Gundam?
Yeah, I think he did Gundam, but definitely Digimon.
Oh, oh him. Oh, now I get it now. So
He's the
that's
guy.
who
He's the
brought you
guy that
in.
got me. Yeah, he brought me in. He introduced me to anime.
Wow.
I
Now
wasn't. I didn't even know how big anime was until he introduced me to it.
Oh, now I understand now. I'm glad you gave me that knowledge to just finally understand how exactly you got there. And turns out
What
I
I'm here
thank you
for.
for it.
That's what I'm here for. You're very welcome.
Now, without further ado, I asked a lot of specific questions about a lot of characters you have played for years, but
Okay.
do you remember the very first ever character that you ever voiced in, like your first ever audition, and what was the experience like?
Are you talking about the first character in anime or in anything?
Like before you got into yourself into anime? Because how do I say this? Like I believe it was in 1996 when you got yourself into an animation thing, correct?
Which one are we talking about? Are we talking about Three Little Pigs? Are we talking about? Uh,
Oh, yep, that one, Three Little Pigs one.
Three Little Pigs.
Is
That
was that your first ever role you got yourself
well,
into?
that was actually dubbing. It was a French animated film that we dubbed into English, and that was one of my first big gigs. And it's the first time I met Mona Marshall and Wally Wingert and a lot of wonderful voice actors. And that was I got that because the guy who was casting it had been a casting director back in New York who I knew, who did films and did that kind of stuff. So he was an on camera casting director who, when he came to LA, part of what he was doing was casting animation. So he called me in on that. And I auditioned for it, and I luckily got it. And I was amazed that I got it because I didn't have a lot of experience in that era. But I got to play one of the three. I got to play the pig with the brick house. I got to sing a song. It was great. I said,
Int-
well, I'll build a house as solid as I can, though it might not be easy. I had this great song to sing. It was wonderful, wonderful.
I see. So that was your first ever role in. Because you want to know the truth? That your character, he's like the very main character right there.
He's
From
one
what
of
I
them. Yeah.
Yep. And honestly, you saying that your first ever character was the Three Little Pigs, I just wanted to make sure so that just in case if I ever do a voice showcase for you, just like how I did for many others for years, all
Uh,
it takes is chronological order to make sure it takes a lot of evolutionizing of the years
that's
you play the characters to make it
that's interesting.
better.
I'd like to see what that looks like. That'd be interesting.
And that's exactly what I have done. The last video I did about was for Graham McTavish, who I did about yesterday, in order to
Uh,
give him the recognition he deserves, since he's a Scottish actor himself who is part of a lot of live action films such as Aquaman and others. So
uh,
yeah, I did that for everybody's sake.
oh, nice. That's nice.
And I'll eventually do the same for you eventually when the time comes.
I will be honored.
That is what I do.
What a guy. And you're in college now?
To tell you the truth, I
Yeah.
am in college.
Wow. How's
I'm
it
in
going?
Santa Fe.
Santa Fe, how's it going? Is it good? You having fun?
Yes, I am. Getting a a lot of people on the spectrum like me and just doing a lot of great stuff. And
That's
eventually,
great.
I'll be taking an acting class from that college.
That's a
As it
good idea.
turns out, that the teacher is actually an anime voice actor himself.
Really?
Learning from him will give me the experience I need to get myself out there.
That's great, man. That's exciting.
Yes,
That's so
indeed.
cool.
Now then,
I turned it to, I'm now interviewing you. I've just switched everything around.
of course, it happens to everybody, you know. Some actors even ask me questions themselves, so
Well, you're an
yeah,
interesting guy. People want to know stuff.
of course. Now, without further ado, how does
Yes.
it feel about stepping into the role of the characters Matsuo Kariya and Susuo Okiya in Kegen Ashura? What do you love most about voicing those characters?
Uh, the wrestler himself, the fighter, I really loved. I always forget his name. I'm very
Mi
bad.
Mitsat Misado, I mean,
Yeah,
Misato.
yeah. Yes. What I loved about him was that's not the kind of part I normally get. That real sort of tough, very strong sort of guy, very quiet, very Clint Eastwood kind of quiet fighter who's just very, very strong and very powerful. I don't normally get those, so that was a thrill for me to be able to do that guy. Absolute thrill. And the other character was, of course, the head of the whole thing. So, and I got to be the kind of sort of bad guy that I really enjoy doing. There's a certain kind of bad guy who's just more fun to do than others because he's just because he's laughing as he goes. He knows that he's got everybody. He knows he's in control and he enjoys it. And so that was the fun of that one. But just Kangen Ashura was wonderful because I got to play the type of part I never get to play, and that was great.
Well, that's most interesting to hear from you, because all I know is that I got to know about Kagan Ashura because of some people that I got to meet with, and that
Yeah.
you being part of it was just pure genius. I
So
give props
did
to,
you not know that I was part of it when you met those people?
let's just say I known about it. It's just you being part of it was pure genius, and that
Or good fortune?
I give props to Megan and Robert Balsholz for bringing you
Buckles.
in.
Bob Buckles and Megan Buckles, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the last time I saw you play those characters was 1 year ago from the Baki Hamna versus Kagan Ashura,
Oh
which,
yeah, the crossover series, the crossover movie.
yeah, where Susan Goldish was just doing a very good direction, bringing you to crossover with the entire cast of
Cool.
Baki.
That was cool. That was cool because it was not done through Bob and Megan Buckles. It was done elsewhere. So that was kind of cool. That was
That,
interesting. And Bob's been very good to me over the years. He's been a wonderful, wonderful supporter and has given me a lot of amazing work that I'm very proud of.
well, that's why he's a very good director and a good actor for a reason.
Yes, he is very much so.
Indeed. Now, without further ado, playing Gabble Docker and Gurren Lagann must have been so exciting, right? So, what's the most thrilling thing about voicing that character throughout the project of Gurren Lagann?
Coming back and doing it again decades later, playing a character that's a kind of a fun character, and then figuring, well, that's the end of that. And then I came in and we did they did a Gurren Lagann thing. When was it? 2 years ago.
2024.
Yeah, 2024. Coming in and doing them again. And when I got the job, we sometimes forget after many years what we've done. And and to know that I was getting to replay a character that I'd already done many, many years earlier was to me a thrill.
Well, that's the most interesting thing, because, all I know is that I've got to watch the entire Gurren Lagann, and that you being part of it was just the most thrilling but genius thing you have ever done. I
You're
give
gonna,
props to
you're gonna
Tony
make me blush.
Oliver.
You're gonna make me blush. Yeah.
And you know what the most exciting part is? I actually made the characters and voice actors video of Gurren Lagann, and I included you in there as a way
Oh,
to give you the recognition you deserve. But
well,
the
thank
best part is that a few months ago I did also the recap films of Gurren Lagann, the characters and voice actors of it, which I include you in there in order to give every you the recognition you deserve,
well,
along with
thank
everyone else. For the ones who are either retired or deceased, because of the new ones carrying on the generations of those, including Crispin Freeman, who carry on the legacy of Dave Mello, may he rest in peace, and also, of course, to Amberly Connors, who honors the legacy of Mary Dovan. So yeah, that's something I'd like to tell you.
Thank you.
Now then,
Yes.
play, playing the character Solon and Thomas from Fire Emblem Warriors Three Hopes must have been so nice, right? So what's the most favorite aspect about bringing those characters into the entire project?
Well, Solon is another one of those really good bad guys. And Thomas, he's disguising himself as Thomas. Oops, I gave away a game thing. But oops, don't tell anybody. But if people don't know by now, then they're not fans of Fire Emblem. But yeah, it's a wonderful. Solon was a wonderfully bad part. I got to be so evil, and I like playing good guys. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes when you get a really good bad guy, it's fun to do.
Well, that's the most interesting thing I begin to hear from you. Because, hey, I've been getting to know a lot about Fire Emblem because of, the entire memes right there and a lot of things right there. And plus, you being part of it was just something that is very cool right there. And I
Uh,
give props to Christian Lamont and of course Patrick Seitz for directing you throughout the entire series.
Patrick,
Especially
Patrick, I worked with Patrick every time I worked on that. He's great.
you. Especially that scene where you, my friend, you own Colleen O'Shaughnessy good there. You're like, your sacrifice will serve as the foundation stone to the new world. You owned her good there. And I
Yeah.
was like, satisfying to watch.
Well,
Because,
thank you. Thank you. You do them
yeah,
better than me. You should be doing it, not me.
yeah, that's the thing about voice casting is just like getting the right people. But you, my friend, are just good at it. So yeah, that's something I like to say. But now, without further ado, you played Jiminy Cricket through the wonderful Mickey Mouse. Must have been so nice, right? So what's the
Yeah, the
most
Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse was I did I did one episode of that, which was great.
yeah, but also Kingdom Hearts as well. But
Kingdom
what
Hearts
do you love? What do
3.
you love most about voicing him? Forgot about
Uh,
that.
Jiminy, I'm so lucky to be the current guy who voices Jiminy Cricket. I think it's such an honor. One, you talked about how did I get into voiceover? When got into voiceover, I never expected I'd get the chance to do an iconic character like that. Like, every time I get the opportunity to do him, I feel like I'm just honored. It's a privilege. It's stepping into the shoes of the great people the great Eddie Carroll and Cliff Edwards and Phil who came before me, Phil Snyder who came before me. To be able to step into those shoes and be trusted with that character to me is one of the ultimate honors of my career.
Well, that's the most interesting thing to hear from you, because you just playing Jiminy Cricket was just the most spectacular thing, especially when you matched yourself with the other voice actors there. And that's why I love your acting as Jiminy Cricket there,
Thank
especially
you.
when you guided Sora throughout the entire game there, just giving out advice and just making sure he knows what he is doing in his life.
Yeah, it's fun.
And you want to know something? Turns out there's a fourth Kingdom Hearts game in production right now.
I've heard tell. I have
And
heard that there is.
and that if Jiminy Cricket does return, so should you, Joe. In order to,
I live in hope.
yes, and when that time comes, you, my friend, will just be known out there for being in the fourth game that will eventually happen in the near future.
Have you played the other games?
Actually, I have been doing it since I was a very young boy,
Oh wow,
and
cool.
that's the
So you've
truth.
played all. So you've played all of them then, all the Kingdom Hearts games.
I have.
That's
And
cool.
yes, and that's the reason why I'm beginning to learn about a lot of voice acting and everything like there. Because of
Well,
that
they're very
experience.
complex games. They're very complex. With
Yep. Especially since they're my childhood.
yeah, oh yeah. The thing that is your childhood that you grow up with. I mean, I'm wearing a shirt today with you know who that is that's on that shirt?
Oh, that's one of the characters from Rocky and Bucklewinkle.
Bullwinkle, Bullwinkle.
Bullwinkle. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Bullwinkle.
Bullwinkle Grey Moose. Hey,
Oh,
Rocky, let me pull a rabbit out of my hat. And to me, that was my childhood. Was growing up
oh,
with Rocky and Bullwinkle. So I'm honoring Bullwinkle. I'm honoring Bullwinkle today by wearing his shirt. But to me, that was my childhood. I loved Rocky and Bullwinkle.
yelp. Now then, being part of the show JoJo's Bizarre Adventure as the voice of Will A. Zabalapi must have been the most coolest character you played as, right? So
He
what's
was
the most
very
thrilling
cool.
part about voicing that character in the show?
Well, you picked it. How cool he was. He was so cool. That scene where he chops the where he uses Hamon to destroy the rock with the frog on it. What's cooler than that? And he was just once again. There's a guy. There's an example. I talked about playing powerful characters and how much fun it is. But he was a good guy, and it was really nice to play a guy that had all that power, but really wanted to help JoJo and was a good guy, and he sacrificed. He did sacrificed a lot to help him, which was really good.
Hmm. Well, that's super awesome to hear from you, because all I know is that I got to know about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and that you being part of it was just the most awesome thing you have ever done. I give props to Tony Oliver for directing you throughout the entire show, especially when your interaction with Johnny Young Bosch, JoJo there, and that it was before Bryce Peppenbrook, who is the descendant of your character, ends up becoming, teaming up with Ben Deskin to, take down the Pillar Man.
Right, right. That was before. That was after my time. But I've worked with Tony many, many times as an actor and as a director, and he's directed me, and we've acted in shows together, and he's great. Tony's the
Yep.
best.
I even met him,
Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very nice guy.
He is a nice guy indeed. And he even recognized my acting skills and even recommended me to take his class. So that way I learned the ropes from him.
Did you do it?
Well, I did take one of his classes once.
Yeah. How'd it go?
Turned out well, actually. When it comes to learning from the actors, just helps me understand clearly.
That's great. No, Tony's a good teacher. He's been doing it for a long time.
Yes. Now then,
Yes, sir.
as Hachigen Ushoda in the show Bleach, must have been the most thrilling but most awesome character you played as, right? So what's the
Well,
most thrilling
one of
thing
them,
about
definitely
voicing
one of
him?
them. Well, that's another one that I got to do many years later, which is kind of cool because they just came out with a game in the Thousand Year War and all that stuff. So to be able to come back and do, yeah, he's one of those characters where when people find out I play him, they're very excited about it. But it's not somebody, but not a lot of people know I did it, and it's kind of funny. He was great. I just loved him. I loved the look of him. I love the way he looked with his big green jacket and his big pink walrus mustache, and I liked his powers. I liked how he wielded his powers. And once again, there's another nice guy with power. I like the nice guys with power, even though it's fun to play the bad guys.
Hmm, I see. So that's what you love about voicing him. Because all I know is that I've got to watch the entire show of Bleach, and that you being part of it was just very spectacular. Especially
Thank
when
you.
you got to fight off against Michael McConaughey against the entire that teaming up with Karen Strassman to take him down. And
Those are
honestly, I noticed that,
spectacular actors, I'll tell you.
yep, and that many years later, by the time Thousand Year Blood War came, I knew you would return to play that character.
I
That
did not
no,
know.
and I thought to myself, no one plays that character but him. And that's why I give props to Ryan Johnston for bringing you back.
Ryan's great.
Yes, and you want to know the best part? I actually made the videos about the Bleach, the characters and voice actors of not just the original Bleach, but also Thousand Year Blood War as well, and
Oh, wow.
and even Rebirth of Souls as well, as a way to give you a lot of recognition right there.
I'll have to go look at those videos. I haven't seen
Yeah,
those. I've
you'll
seen
love.
your stuff, but I haven't seen those.
Yeah. because the Rebirth Souls one was just very nice there, especially that one particular cutscene where after all these years, after Karen Strassman really got thinking if you struck the deal with Karen Strassman, turns out you fulfilled that promise and you made it happen, locking Doug Erholtz in a cage just so that
I always
Soifon
wanted to
finally
lock
gets
Doug.
satisfied.
Always wanted to lock Doug Erholtz in a cage.
Yeah, Karen was feeling satisfied after all these years.
Yes.
Yeah. Now then, I like to ask you this, but being part of Mobile Suit Gundam as the voice of Tim Ray and Captain Willard and that other character from that one you did back in 2016 must have been very nice characters, right? So
Well,
what do you love most about being in Gundam?
Temray was a great character because Temray was one of the people who built the robots, who invented the robots. He was part of that, and that had a lot of emotional weight because he was not the best father, and there was a lot of relationship stuff going on between him and his son in that in the Mobile Suit Gundam stuff. So watching his arc, it was a very emotional arc that wasn't the usual thing you get in anime. The things he had to do. So I enjoyed playing him a lot.
Hmm. Well, that's very nice to hear from you, because all I know is that you being part of the Gundam franchise was a very cool thing, especially
Thank
when
you.
you got to be in three Gundam series. One was in the origin one where Keith Silverstein does literally Char and has been going him through on ever since, and you gone to Iron Blood Orphans. But most importantly, you've got yourself in that other one called Seed Destiny by Kerry Carnan, which I made that video about months ago, which I
Oh,
include
yeah.
you in there.
Thank you, as always.
It's what I do, just making sure I extract all the voices I need to not only do that video, but to complete the voice showcases for the ones I've been doing it for, including Brad Venable.
Oh, Brad. I miss
Yeah,
Brad.
yeah, I made that voice showcase for him as a way to honor his legacy and to celebrate the anniversary of his passing.
That's really, really nice of you. Brad was a very good friend. And I miss him. I miss him.
Uh, I miss him too. There's no guarantee of that. You being part of the show as Hunter as the voice of Zeno Zoldyck must have been the most coolest character, right? So
Well,
what's
that
most
is one of the
awesome?
cool.
So what's
He's
so awesome about playing him?
well, and then, again, another really cool one. A guy with complete power who knows he has complete power and is very cool and confident about it. Doesn't need to work. Just lets people know that he's more that don't get in his way. And I loved playing Zeno Zoldyck. He was one of my favorites. Big favorite.
Oh, I see. So he's your most favorite character,
He's
hey?
one of my most famous characters. I mean, Jiminy Cricket's not too shabby either. I've been very lucky to play some incredible characters. But
That's very
Zeno's definitely up in the favorites.
Hmm. Well, that's very nice to hear from you. Because, hey, you being part of Hunter x Hunter was very spectacular right there. Especially when you got to fight off against Max Middleman alongside with John Snyder, who it
Uh,
turns out you and him working together to take down Max Middleman was just very awesome right there. And because, hey, again, Tony Oliver just did an awesome
oh,
job
that's Tony
directing.
Oliver. Yes, once again, a great director.
He is very awesome
And a
indeed.
very good singer, just so you know.
Yes, I did notice that as well. Even I beginning to understand it as well. But that's what everybody goes through. Now then,
Yes.
you being part of the anime project by the name of Pluto must have been so nice, right? So what's the most awesome thing when you got to be part of the show Pluto as the voice of the Patami professor and Simon?
I think just being a part of that was a really, really interesting project. It's a really cool project to be involved in. And I think the parts I did were good parts, but they weren't, it was more about being in the project than it was about what I played in it. It was about the wonder of Pluto itself, which is a really cool show. That was pretty much it with that.
I see. So that's what you love.
Sometimes it's being a small part of a great show as opposed to being a big part of a great show or a big part of a not so great show. Which this is just sometimes. I mean, on TV, I was a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan on television. I was a big fan of the show, and I really wanted to be on it. And I got the opportunity to do a little one-line role on it, and I took it, even though I was trying not to do smaller roles at the time. But I said, "This is Buffy, and I have to be on Buffy, so I don't care what I do." And I did it. Sometimes that's just fun.
Wow. I never knew you wanted to be in Buffy until you told me right now. Because
I wanted to be
now
in
I
Buffy.
know. Because, hey, you being part of Pluto was the most brilliant move that you've ever did there. Plus, I
Well, it
give
wasn't me; it was the directors and the casting people. That
Patrick Seitz, on the other hand, did an awesome job directing you throughout the entire series,
good
which,
old
on the other,
Patrick.
and I also did a video about the characters and voice actors of that show, again, to give you the recognition
Again.
you deserve.
Thank
It's
you.
you check out my video and you will see your voices there, because I did it just so I can help you
I want
out.
to. I want to see that because I don't think I've seen what I did in Pluto yet.
And that's why from my YouTube channel there, you go there after the interview and you will love everything that I did there. I promise you this.
Thank you.
Now, without further ado,
Yes.
I got a few last questions due to the time limit right there, but
Okay.
so I'll ask you this. You being part of Miraculous Ladybug as the voice of Mayor Andre Bourgeois and Santa Claus must have been so developing, right? So what's the most developing thing about voicing those two characters?
Well, just that they developed the care. Well, especially Mayor Bourgeois, his character developed. He just thought he was a snooty mayor, and then you found out more about him, and the more you found out about him, the more you liked him, and the more you felt for him. That he was a guy who was not completely in control of his life because his family kind of browbeat him, and everybody else was kind of better at his job or better at their jobs than he was. And it's I thought he was a great character to play. Loved him. And Santa Claus. Hey, who doesn't love playing Santa Claus? And I got that job because Ezra called me up and said, "Hey Joe, can you sing?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, you're doing Santa Claus in Miraculous." And that was how I got that job because I told him I could sing, and I got to sing a song, and I got to do all kinds of fun stuff in that. So that was really good. That was a good one because I got to not only be that nice good guy I talk about liking to do, but I also got to be a really bad guy who got to sing. So that's what was great about Santa Claus.
Hmm. Well, that's very nice to hear from you, because Miraculous Ladybug, one of the most spectacular shows since 2015, was super awesome, and Ezra Weiss bringing you in was just pure genius of him to do so, especially since throughout the years your character is just trying to understand himself, and by the time the fifth season came, you finally snapped, and you finally realized that what he's trying to do all these years was all based on his family, which is why you renounced your mayor status in order to be looking after Zoe Lee, your true daughter, to help making sure she lives a good life, all means.
And to go make my movies.
Exactly. And that's why you passed that mayorship down to Dorothy Funn, which I
I hope
give
they,
props
I
to
hope
that.
they, I hope they revisit him sometime and find out what happened to him when he left.
Yeah, that's what I hope too.
I think the best way to do that is to have the fans say, "Hey, where's Mayor Bourgeois?"
That's what everybody says in the fandoms by all means. So yeah, that's
Do
something.
they? I don't know. I don't read that stuff, so I have no idea what's going on.
Well, that's why I'm telling you this to make you
Thank you.
understand.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Of course. Well, Joe,
Yes, sir.
such an honor to finally meeting you after all these years.
Again.
Of-
That's
There's
it.
one
Go
oh,
ahead.
there's one more thing
Yeah.
before I go. But
Uh,
when people look back on your work, how do you want to be remembered as a voice actor and a complete true person? F-
I hope I'm remembered by my peers as someone who was fun to work with, and who could come up and give them what they needed fastly and efficiently and creatively. And I hope fans just are moved or learn or laugh or are touched or just enjoy the work. You know, I feel so lucky to be able to do this career, uh, and 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 I'm very grateful to anybody who's a fan. I'm grateful to everybody. So I just want to be remembered as somebody who really loved what he did, loved what he does, and did it as well as he could.
That's the most interesting thing to hear from you. But you know what?
I,
That's one of the whole reasons why I have the desire, which I'm gonna make it a reality eventually, to working with you and the entire acting industry when the time comes. And when that time comes, I will help you get yourself into more projects yet to come. And
Thank
that
you.
way, you, my friend, will just be known out there to just be good at it, especially for the Fourth Kingdom hearts, by all means. Hmm. Then I'm glad that I got to meet you after all these years.
Again.
Of course. Well, Joe, it's such an honor to meet you, and I hope we get to see each other in the near future in person, my friend.
That would be my honor. You
Of
just
course.
forgive yourself. Thanks for inviting me on the show. I appreciate it.
Always. See you around, my friend.
Bye bye. And bye bye, everyone out there watching.
Want to keep up with my journey? Follow me on social media for more updates, behind the scenes moments, and all the fun along the way.